Hey everybody, I just thought I would do a quick video about light and light setup as part of this Grand Exchange breeding project. I see a lot of times people don't understand DLI or PPFD and they're not quite sure how to measure it. So I've got a couple of devices here that I've used to measure it, and then I'm going to speak about a rude kind of theory that I have. It's just personally mine and how I approach light if I don't have these devices. So first of all, I talked about it in another video. This is a lux meter, and it's the UNI T. I'm going to see if I can get it. There it is, the UNI T UT383BT. And it's important that this one has BT. It's the Bluetooth version, and it pairs to an application on Android phones and I believe Apple phones called the PPFD meter app. And it works really great. So you just turn it on, and this measures in lux. It doesn't measure in DLI or PPFD. It converts it via the app. So when you first turn it on, it just essentially gives you the lux reading. But if you hold this down, you'll see in the bottom left corner right there, a little Bluetooth application starts flashing. And if you open up the PPFD and meter app, it will pair up to there and convert to DLI and PPFD. And it's extremely accurate. There's a review of this on the Migro website where he compares it to other devices like the Apogee device, and it's very, very close, within 1 to 2%. So it's a very neat kind of tool. It's about 30 bucks. It's available on AliExpress, and it's also available, I believe, on Amazon. And it measures in lux. So let's put it down here, and let's just see what it measures in lux. And I'm going to pair it to the application. I'm going to put my hand over it, but it's reading, I don't know if anyone can read that. It's reading about 22,000 lux. Okay, so we'll leave that there, and we'll come back to it. And I'm going to put a screenshot of what the reading is in DLI and PPFD up in the corner right now. And as you can see, it's about 530 PPFD and about 45 DLI. And DLI is essentially just the accumulation of a measurement over the amount of hours of light. So for this light, it's 24 hours, so DLI is affected by how much. Now I also have this Android phone here, and on this Android phone, there is an application also you can download that doesn't require an external device called Photon. And Photon uses the front camera sensor on the phone to measure lux and PPFD and DLI. And so I'm going to pull it out of the light a little bit so we can see. You essentially just put it down, open it up, and down here there's a little button, and you can select the spectrum. So I've got an LED full spectrum with red, so I make sure that that is selected. And then you can kind of scroll through some screens here. So there's PPFD, there's DLI, and there's luminescence. So I'm going to put it down to measure luminescence first, because the other one is measuring in lux as well. And so it's going to be tough to see, so I'm going to try and get down there. It's very tough to see, and when there's a reflection. But what I can tell you is it's saying 32,000 lux. And so that's a little bit different. When it comes to DLI, however, it is measuring the same, 44. And the lux meter was measuring 45. So you can see when it comes to DLI, it's very accurate almost to the sensor. And when it comes to PPFD, it's measuring 500 and, let's try it again. It's measuring 510 PPFD. So it's very close. I'm just gonna give this camera a real good clean just to see if it makes any difference. Okay, I just gave the camera a nice good wipe. I'm going to set that down close to the seedling. And 510 PPFD. Oh, 520 PPFD. And the meter through the app was reading 530 PPFD. So you can see that these sensors are really close. And they're going to help you get a really good idea if you have enough light intensity. Okay, I'm going to go on to my philosophy for light after doing measurements for this. And what I found is wattage per square foot. That's how I tend to run my lights nowadays. So let's say we're using this 2x2. That's 4 square feet. What I like to do is set the light for 30 watts per square foot for vegetation and 40 watts per square foot for flowering. So if I have 4 square feet times 30 watts, I need about 120 watts to achieve good DLI at 24 inches above the canopy. That's my rule of thumb. And for flower, we want a little bit more power, so that's 40 watts at 4 square feet, which is 160 watt light. So I'm a little bit underpowered in this tent with 100 watts, which is why I've had to drop the light down to about 17 inches instead of 24. The lower you bring your lights to the plant, the higher the intensity of light. And every time you raise your light, you actually lose intensity. And you can measure that with the Photon app or with the Bluetooth device, the lux meter here. And I'm gonna just show you here. We put this phone down. We're gonna use the Photon app because, you know, most people can get a hold of that. It's 520 PPFD. I'm gonna set the phone down for a second, so just bear with me. Okay, and I'm gonna raise the light just probably, I don't know what we're gonna raise it. Let's see. We're at 17 inches before. And let's see now. Now look at the Photon reading. It went from just that little bit. It went from 520 PPFD to 390. Let me just grab the ruler and I'm gonna show you how much I moved it. It wasn't very much. Just bear with me, folks. Okay, so we were at 17 inches from the media before, and now we're only at 20 inches. So just by raising the light 3 inches, the PPFD went from 520 to 410. And that's why light height and intensity is so important and needs to be measured. Most people would think, well, I'm close enough, or 3 inches doesn't make a difference. It really makes a big difference when it comes to light intensity. So again, general rule I use, if you're not using the app, is to probably do 30 watts per square foot at 24 inches above the canopy, or 40 watts per square foot at 24 inches above the canopy. If you're using the Photon app, I like to probably start my seedlings anywhere between 450 to 550 PPFD. And in flower, I'll definitely push the limits to 1,000 to 1,200 to literally to what the light can do at about 40 watts. I like to have it 24 inches just so that I can get an even spread over the canopy. If you're down low onto the plants, you can get a hot spot. And that's just the light intensifying in the center and not so much the edges because it's so close. So I hope that helps some folks with some light and enlightened a little folks about some settings that you can do. Light is really the, I like to call it the gas pedal to growth. A lot of people focus on nutrients, but I really think that they should be focused on light. You can feed the plant all the nutrients it wants, but if it doesn't have the light that it requires, it's not going to grow. And oftentimes when people jack up the light and turn it up to full intensity, that's when they see rapid growth begin. So set your lights at the proper height. Make sure you crank them up to the proper wattage. It requires a good amount of wattage. Let's use a 2x4, which is 8 square feet at 30 watts per square foot. 8 times 3 is 240 watts. So in vegetation in a 2x4, I'm looking to have at least a 240 watt. 40 watts in flower times 8, that's 320 watts. So in a 2x4, I like to run a 320 watt light. So a lot of people are underpowered, I think, in the amount of square footage. We could do the same for a 4x4, and you'll find it's about 650 to 750 watts minimum inside of a 4x4. And inside of a 5x5, you're looking at about 1,000 watt light. And a lot of people think, oh, I got a 5x5, I got a little bit more room. You know, I can get away with a 750 watt or a 500 watt light. And they say it's not that much bigger than a 4x4. Well, you know, if you do the square footage of a 4x4, it's 16 square feet. If you do the square footage of a 5x5, it's 25 square feet. So that means that a 5x5 is literally 50% larger than a 4x4. You know, if you had 16 square foot in a 4x4, half of that is 8. You add it to the 16 already there, and that's 24 square foot. It's still not the amount of square footage of a 5x5. So it can be deceiving, and it's important to have enough light for the square footage that you're trying to illuminate, and making sure that those plants get all the proper light they need to really get off to a good start and keep accelerated growth. So hope that was helpful. I hope that the tools helped with some measurements and helped you hopefully get your light set properly. I got to lower this light back to 17 inches and get back up to that 530 PPFD. So I wish you all the best, and hopefully it was helpful. Talk to you again soon.